opportunity for us to come home in front of our family, fans, Raider Nation, the Black Hole. Raiders! Raiders! Goddamn right.
All right, what is up, Raider Nation? This is the Just Raiders Baby podcast. I'm your host, I am Jay Raider, and with me, I have a special guest tonight, Captain Rafucho, joining me in the studio. Thank you very much for joining me on this special edition of JRB Live. This is the bi-week special. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is like the first time that I'm here on your show, and I mean, let's talk about the Raiders because I'm wearing this Black Sunday T-shirt, and this is gonna be super incredible because right now it is time. It is time to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And kind of before I start diving into the show, I did post something earlier today, a couple hours ago. So let me go ahead and kind of share that really quick. This is important news, so I definitely want to go ahead and kind of discuss it with everybody really quick. And so, um, big update just broke. Michael Mayer is going to be returning to the Raiders as of next week. This is big news because Michael Mayer has been out basically the whole season. And so having our second tight end come in, especially with this struggling offense, is going to be a big thing. So glad to have Michael Mayer back. Rafa, what's your thoughts on this?
Between for Michael Mayer, there could be like anything could happen on this situation, and after that, I just saw about like this mental. How we gonna do in this one? He could be like it really happened now, just like doing something great. If everything is gonna be the probably one of the testing because it might not like the real fattest at all. But what I just saw about like the news of Michael Mayer getting returned, they're gonna really help along with Brock Bowers. It seems that we can agree that is because he wasn't about the top tight end because he had a bad quarterback play and he had the contender. But I believe that if he got like a more ability to get involved after he was doing like it was struggling and everything,
Right. Yeah, man. I mean,
you know what I mean?
it's tough. I hope
After the
he's in
just
a better
likely we had
place.
a great yep. And I really thought it's gonna be like a really not that very good, but it means if there are some persons that have a negative discussion, but between for like the artistic and one for like other Raiders and besides sort of that, he can block, he can run routes, and he has a contested catches, but he didn't go as the very fastest out of the competition. But it gotta be like a great part of the offense if we need to have the struggling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing that we need. We need a tight end that blocks. Yeah, we have Brock, but we have Brock running routes right now, and Bryant, this is Harrison. Bryant's not really, you know, doing the job on that part. So, um, for sure, having him coming back and providing that extra layer of blocking is going to be good. And then obviously he can catch the ball, he can run downfield. So I'm very excited that he's coming back. I'm happy that he is in a better place. So and he's able to return and play football. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and just kind of show that and just let everybody know that Michael Mayer is back and he is going to be joining the Raiders starting next week. So, uh, yeah, there we go. So, hopefully we
Oh,
can
there it is.
see. Yep, hopefully we can see him really soon. So, yeah, man. So let's kind of get into the show. Neil, we have a lot of news that's happened over this bye week, and one of them is obviously Luke Getsy's gone. Fucking finally. I think everybody has been on the same page. All the Raider fans out there, and probably some players low key that they wanted Luke Getsy gone. So he is finally gone. He was let go Sunday of last Sunday, almost a week ago. So I was actually driving back and I heard the news. I was like, oh, no fucking way. So I'm super pumped, but
Hmm.
obviously, the question is like, who are we going to bring in as an offensive coordinator? And there was a couple of names thrown out there, but the leading candidate was Scott Turner. He is a passing game coordinator, and so they gave him the job. And the other news that came along with it is that they brought in his dad, and I didn't even know this. I guess his dad is Norv Turner, so they brought in Norv Turner as a special assistant. And him and Scott are going to be calling the plays upstairs. And so this is big news, obviously. And my thing is like, why are we doing this now? How come this change wasn't done at the end of the season? You know, for a moment I didn't think that it was going to be let go. I saw him. I was seeing him leaving at the end of the season, but they decided to pull the trigger early. I feel like it wasn't early enough, but it is what it is. So, what are your thoughts on this? That now Luke Getzey is gone. We got Scott Turner at the helm with his dad calling the plays upstairs.
Let's look at see career in Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, that was like a complete disaster. And in Las Vegas Raiders, but also he failed. But I mean, if seems they have been very obviously not learning about like the playbook because any person who has two tight ends and he fails to utilize them, they should get at the boot. And then we're just trying to utilize those two tight ends between for Buck Bowers and then the another one. I mean, that's not completely like a science rocket. I mean, they're gonna not anything well because it's not very typical. Not that very typical at all. I mean, between for this playbook and of course for like the throwing off for like the first one and getting off the field together. I mean, Getsy but it comes sort of with the Chicago Bears because I did something very special because I don't see like at the situation coming up there. And the reason he really complicated at all because he doesn't study like at every offense that had the two tight ends, said like in New Orleans, or like the defense, or like the defense, and look at it's the real problem because they don't want to see like a good vertical concept of the offense. He has a short play. How because he's great pass catchers, but it seems that they're limited, but they can really work at it like guys like Ed in O'Connor, guarding Minshew, but the good offensive game plan because the problem is adjusting time. When you look at Seattle the first half, I mean, they just started anything a problem because the quarterbacks wasn't that good in the either because even though that it's exactly the same screen that I played three times in a row or the goal line because that's not really right on that hat.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. To be honest with you, it's just my memories of Nerf Turner aren't pretty, and um, this was back in like late '90s, I believe, that Norv Turner was the head coach for the Raiders, and that was a pretty dark time in itself. So, you know, I get it. They want to bring in somebody to come in and help, Scott call the plays upstairs. But I mean, it's just, you know, you gotta let that boy cook. But we'll see what happens. I mean, honestly, do you know? Do we start finally seeing that offense open up? Now that we have, somebody new calling the plays. I hope so, because the way that we've been playing, the last few games have been pretty atrocious. So having maybe new blood in there will probably do the trick, and probably try to revamp this offense, at least for it to look, like a professional team, not like, a high school varsity team. So, I hope that, by both of them coming in, um, they do make a change. But going along with that, now Scott has to deal with a couple of issues, and I mean, he's already there, so he already knows. There's QB there's QB room trouble. We have Gardner Minshew, we have Desmond Ritter, um, our current QBs, kind of vying for position. And, I said it before in my previous podcast that we're probably going to have a QB, battle again. And that's kind of what it's starting to roll out here. So, and then you have also Aiden O'Connell that, yes, he's on IR, but he's due to come back pretty soon, probably within the next 3 weeks or so. So, you have another dilemma there on what we're going to do with Aiden O'Connell. Are you going to have three active quarterbacks in your roster? Well, that's going to be the question there. So, I mean, I don't know. Do we put in Ritter, or do we stick with Gardner Minshew? And we know how streaky Gardner Minshew is, and how problematic he is with his fumbling and his decision making. But so is Ritter. Ritter has a little bit of issues, in the past, himself. So it's funny. It's going to be interesting on who we put in. What do you think? Are we going to stick with Ritter? Are we going to stick with Minshew, or do we put in Ritter and roll the dice and see what happens?
I don't know because they don't want to like really expect it at all because after that we just saw a lot of disaster coming out through. I mean, if anyone would have become somewhat like everything is not definitely not working at all because I've been seeing like a lot of comments on social media say, "Oh, they got a star between for God and Minshew," but basically, it's not the people they just wanted to do about it. I mean, if reading the side of that basically like at a Leicester because they all like being like some defeated, but it seems that they have some issues. They have some flaws. I mean, they have some problems about like the arm technique, also for the speed and intensity, going after the combination with the right receiver. But it seems that they have a little like short disconnection around for the quarterback and the right receiver. But it seems that it had nothing to prove either to change it at all. Because on one of those things, it's the lack of energy about for those quarterbacks. And it seems that how in the hell is going to really change it at all? Because it's not going to be like a really great chance, but it seemed you don't want to hear like anything about like criticism, but another reasons they want to work and they're all lying, but it's going to be like really possible to get involved like at the quarterback because I know that if you see like everything could happens, I mean, there's nothing out there to cover like any of the problem. But if they're going to like really predict that someone had to go for it, because I just wanted to say that, well, if they want to stay with Desmond Raider, I mean, they're gonna be right because everyone to see like Amisha is a mobile quarterback, but when you realize that he has a slower 40 time than AOC, and he has and he has like the same rushing numbers as Carr. Because if you combine Raider Minshew into one person, they have a pretty good quarterback. Still not great, but pretty good. But starting Minshew, I mean, was like the stupid idea. I mean, just they never had a chance to play with the whole offense of the Raiders. They just had like at the beginning of the season. But before that, I think that Desmond Raider gets some tricks on the sleeves because when he isn't under pressure, it's very frustrating at the age of the quarterbacks who can make like better plays improvise under pressure. The original play is assigned.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that
true.
could have
No,
happened.
for sure. Hmm. Yeah. So
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
that could have happened.
just
Hmm.
yeah. So, yeah, it can happen. But yeah,
Yep.
we'll see what's up. But now obviously now with the record that we currently have, um, you know, it's not looking too good, to be honest with you. And so our chances of actually making the playoffs, I think I think somebody said they're like 1%, and that's kind of about right. It's probably like 1 or 2%. So I mean, it's possible, and there has to be like, I think the Broncos and the Chargers have to lose like almost all their games, and Kansas City has to lose like half of their games or something like that, and some other teams have to lose, and then we get in. I mean, right now the playoff picture, if it were to start today, I mean, there's a couple teams that are like they have like three and like 3-6 records in there, and it's crazy.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but to be realistic, and I am a realist, I think we kind of focus more on becoming spoilers. So, um, that's my next thing. I think we should just kind of start focusing on becoming a spoiler team. And there was a few teams that I would love to spoil their playoff and undefeated streaks. Obviously, Kansas City, we're gonna play them again, probably within the next few weeks, actually. So I would love for us to go into Kansas City again and do another Thanksgiving Christmas repeat of last year and give them the first loss, and that would be so sweet
Yeah, I mean,
because they
exactly.
would probably have a nervous breakdown if that were to happen, and they probably
Yeah.
have to go seek some professional help because they took the last loss hard, and I'm not even kidding around, man. There. I think Travis Kelsey was pretty bitter about it until the beginning of the season. So was Patrick Mahomes. So I would love to have them, in that feeling again. And then obviously we got the Chargers again. We got Denver again. And though they did beat us this last time, they come into our house in a few weeks, and so I would love to go ahead and return the favor. We got the Chargers at the end of the year. I'm sorry, at the beginning of the new year. I think it's like the second week of January, which I might go to that game. So I would love to be spoiler for them and deny them to get into the playoffs. And then you got a couple other wins too that you can kind of pick up here and there. But who do you think we're going to be spoilers for the rest of the 8 games that we have going on?
I mean, this is gonna be like really impossible with Dolphins and then Kansas City Chiefs.
Hmm.
I know that it's kind of realistic right now, but you know, the defense they just wanted to make some really changes around for the next games. But I know it's gonna be like a really chance to go out there. I mean, if we should have it to go for it. I mean, there's gonna be like a dusty like a plan the playbook. I mean, guaranteed that for us. I mean, there's gonna be like an excited with because we can lose because if we can lose at the rest of the season, might have the first pick, but it won't be that easy because I have a lot of faith to get us there, and I know the defense has been struggling like a lot because whatever goes through like this is parade, to go like to see how the defense and the quarterback and the wide receiver are going to have like this one. I mean, if they're looking to reaching it out, I mean, they're going to happen in this one because I know there are reasons that some probably didn't work it out, but if we know to something to get involved, I mean, the offensive line they needs to work it a lot because if they see like a lot of things between for like the first one, the second one, I mean, they have it designated for the through 9 weeks. I mean, it's not really that bad, but it gets like it really folded at all. Because after we just saw Malcolm Coons out there before week 1 and working shortly after that mess, I mean, I never see like a team so beat up because I don't really care about like the stats wise on yardage because I know that teams had the passing for a lot of yards, but also we are bottom of the half of the league. But we knew that the offense was bad, but it's that really frustrating that the defense has been always almost in the mat, even with the jury's taken into consideration. But if we know that, I understand it's why it is considerably between for the next few games. I mean, it's not gonna be like a really easy. I mean, we could have taken like a W against Miami Dolphins because the last year it was like very, very too close. But I wonder at the at that game. I mean, there's gonna be like this one to drop the ball. I mean, if the defense could recognize everything together, I mean, they would love to see how they get involved.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I would like to see how the defense does get involved. I mean, yeah, they haven't been doing too great. I mean, but they've done their part. It's just it's a lot of ask to have your defense carry you for 60 minutes, almost with no break. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what teams we can be spoiler for. Um, we have 8 games left in our season, so I feel that we can probably pull like 4 or 5 wins. I don't see us going on an 8 game winning streak, especially the way we've been playing. You know, we don't we're not competitive. And sorry to say it, but we're really not. So until we get a lot of things fixed, and obviously it starts with the offensive line and the quarterback situation, it's going to be really hard for us to be able to, you know, be establish, a consistent drive and putting up consistent points, and because that's been our issue all year long. It's basically we haven't been consistent in putting up points. We haven't been consistent in setting up the run game. Um, so, yeah, that's kind of where I see us. I see us just being the spoiler. And Max did talk about it in his podcast on earlier in the week, and he's like, "Well, I would love to be spoiler for a few teams," and KC was one of them. So I would love to see that happen. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But that goes into my next segment here. Uh, Obviously, we have every year a player that stands out. So I am creating the first ever Raider of the Year award. And so right now, what I want to do, I want to go ahead and pick some candidates for that Raider of the Year award. So, who do you think is a candidate to be the Raider of the Year? You know, these are players who have been playing consistent and solid all season long, and looks like if and looks like they're not slowing down. So, who do you think would be a candidate for Raider of the Year?
Ooh, for the radio of the year, I mean, between for this season, I mean, there's been like a lot of incredible players, but my candidate to radio of the year it's none other than the tight end Brock Bowers, because check this out. Because after they just drafted from the Georgia Bulldogs as most of the generational tight end of the college football, I mean, their stats are really insane because they're the first of the most of the tight ends in reception. The first one, I mean, he just beat Mark Andrews, Travis Kells, and another the rest of the tight ends from the league prospects in years because he's been doing like something promising. I mean, I know this is not gonna be like really devastated. Right now, we have a generational talent, and we have it the best top player. It seems that if they got the right choice to see how he's getting ball, like the whole defense, the improvement and everything. I mean, that looks very far. I mean, he's also like a really beast because he's not just like a typical tight end, but he's a weapon of mass reception. Because if they want to see like an average like 14.5 yards per anything, I mean, that dude looks really insane. And I know there are some other players that go for like a great leadership, but he got like the mentality because he has an attentional potential because he plays heavy, tried to stop the run. I mean, they flex it outside. He destroys more like 90% of the linebackers. And if they're gonna bring like it is some extra spicy to try to stop, I mean, they're very for because how good a blocker Mayer is. I mean, there's no sludge eater because there's like a great offensive that get the weapons that come during all it. I mean, they just made like a great start in college. I mean, if they could do like more traditional because they can really help the field as of as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that Brock Bowers is definitely a candidate for Raider of the Year. I mean, shit, he's already a candidate for Rookie of the Year, so it makes sense for him to be Raider of the Year. Um, I think, obviously, I think without being said, and I can't overlook this guy because he is the leader of the Raiders, Max Crosby. That guy is just a workhorse. Injured, not injured. This guy is just out there almost every snap, if not every snap. You literally have to pry him away from the game so he can like stop and take care of himself. But obviously, Max's, his presence out there is so crucial and so detrimental for the opposing team that it really messes up with their play style. They have to double and triple team the guy, so they have to do things actively to stop him. And even that, uh, well, almost half of the time he's able to get through. So definitely Max Crosby is definitely Raider of the Year. Um, I can even go a little further. Another player that I can nominate, and again, it's on the defensive end, is Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane's been solid, solid. He's come up with interceptions, big tackles, and he's out there, same thing, every game, almost every snap. He's also playing special teams. I've seen do a couple of special teams plays as well. So he's everywhere. So definitely, I think Brock Bowers, Max Crosby, and Robert Spillane, those three guys, definitely candidates of Raider of the Year award. So obviously, we'll see how the rest of the season pans out and what they bring to the table. But I don't see these guys slowing down. Um, I see them continuing doing big things, and um, yeah, I hope they have an amazing rest of the season. Even though it's pretty god awful at the moment, but you know we could still look at a few things to keep it positive and keep it fun and keep it entertaining. Obviously, we also want to look towards the future, but before I get into my next segment, if you are watching this podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that like button down below. Keep supporting the podcast. We are constantly growing it. As you see, I have my special guest here today, Captain Rafucho, and tell them where they can find
Yes,
you
sir.
at, brother.
All right, so you can find me on YouTube at Captain Rafucho. I'm almost there for than more more than 1,005 subscribers, and of course, I got my social media as Instagram, Twitter. You can see Captain Rafucho on YouTube and that. So there's like a plenty things that I really just wanted to create live streams, videos, reactions, everything, and including talking Raiders on my podcast, Straight Outer Nation.
Awesome. Yeah. And when can they find you on Straight Outta Nation? How often are you on there?
Yeah, it's gonna be between 2 times per week. It's gonna be 2 episodes per week, and right now we're under the bye week. So the next week we got something very special between for Las Vegas Raiders versus Miami Dolphins with some special guests coming out there for the next week.
Awesome, awesome, good. So yeah, definitely check out Captain Rafucho on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. But let's go into the next segment here. So obviously, you know the way that things look for this season, it's not looking great, looking pretty grim. So I like to look towards the future, and the future being the off season. I'm actually very excited for the off season. Normally, I am not. I was actually pretty excited this past off season, but then I got disappointed a little bit. Luckily, we were able to draft Brock Bowers and DJ Glaze and JPJ. But obviously, we know what needs to be done in this off season. But you have questions, right? So one of the questions is, who do we bring in as offensive coordinator this offseason, right? So do you give Scott Turner a chance depending how the rest of the season plays out? Do you bring in an outside offensive coordinator from a different team? Do you bring in a college OC? That's also been something that I've spoken to about as well. So, what are your thoughts? Who do you think the Raiders should bring in this offseason?
I mean, between for the off season, I mean, that's really tough. Precisely. I mean, this off season, I mean, before this regular season coming up there, I mean, that was really interesting to see how Christian Wilkins coming up there. But I understand that if we need to bring like really something new about this, and I know there's gonna be like a lot of promises, or maybe just like a questions about that, but how the people never spoke like between for like Byron Leftwich. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator who was working with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during for 2019, 2022, and he actually worked with the quarterback Tom Brady before he was retired as a quarterback and before he was the minor owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. But I know they can be like a really excellent coach and excellent promising because he was like a great offensive identity throughout all through the season because they just got like a lot of control with the offense and they just went superior. I mean, maybe it wasn't that really super hot candidate, but he was talking about like a head coach or offensive coordinator for years. I mean, if it's because they don't want to see like get involved in something like that. I mean, in that case, I mean, was covered like really a lot because he's one of those best examples. And why the people take like at the bad situations to be like at a head coach instead of waiting for like a better opportunity? Who knows about that? Because even they require like a different skills being like an offensive coordinator. So it might be like a really successful. I mean, every time that I see like a between for Eli Better and quarterback, they basically they do like a job. If they gotta pull like a like trigger, I mean, it's not gonna be like a really suck. But there was like great great creativity, especially like the stretch because there's been like a great improvement when it comes to Byron Leftwich. I mean, if he wants to be like an offensive coordinator to work, I mean, he's also available. But I would love to see like a what are those college offensive coordinators that if they want to see get involved like this right now. I mean, there's one in Georgia Bulldogs that he works with Samir White, and of course there's Brock Bowers. I mean, the offensive coordinator, he just realized that he can use the tight ends, and no one's telling that it's gonna be like it'll really happening at all. But you know,
Yeah.
there's like a great thing that if they want to run the defense, put him onto the maximum, put him onto the maximum, and because he just wouldn't work with Kirby Smart at all. But if you see
Yeah.
look at a really offensive line, because there's one name called Mike Bobo. I mean, he was on he was under the Georgia and he was working with South Carolina, Colorado State. I mean,
Mhm.
between from Mike Bobo, I mean, that should be like a really good candidate as known for like an offensive coordinator because he knows a pretty good job about for like the right receivers. I mean, they just can't really like can't catch the goal to save their lives. I mean,
Mhm.
whatever said about between from Mike Barber, I mean, that lone scoring drive before like the disaster, I mean, he does very well for play calling. I mean, the wide receivers and tight ends, they just wanted to catch the damn ball. I mean, if they wanted to throw the ball, I mean, between
Right.
for Byron Leftwich and Mike Bubble, that should be like the two candidates to be the offensive coordinator for the next season.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, man. We obviously we have ties to Georgia with Brock Bowers
Hmm.
and Zamir White, and so yeah, it makes sense to bring in somebody from there to be offensive coordinator. I mean, you have other names have been thrown out there. Obviously, Ben Johnson is a big name that's being thrown around. But honestly, I don't see Ben Johnson coming in as an offensive coordinator, um, especially for the Raiders. So it doesn't make sense for him to leave one position for the same thing at a different team. If he were to come into the Raiders, he would come in as a head coach. So that means you're doing basically a full rebuild at that point. I don't think that's going to happen in this case. I think AP stays on for this next season coming up, and we can I'll go into it a little bit more later. But I don't see Ben Johnson coming in as offensive coordinator. But yeah, I mean, there's you give somebody a shot from the college level to come in and help groom the next quarterback. You have, there's Brian Flores out of Minnesota. You got Adam Sinovich from Green Bay. There's also been talks of Mike Grable possibly coming in as well, and he was the head coach for the Titans for a few years over there. So Bobby Selwick from the Texans is another possibility as well. So we'll see what happens. But the biggest thing here is whoever they bring in has to make sure that they cater this new offense around whoever we're going to draft. And so it's important that you do that because you don't want to force a new quarterback, especially who has a lot of talent, into a system that they may or may not get. And then next thing you know, they're not working out, or people start
Mm.
saying that they're a possible bust, and you have that kind of talk. So it's crucial that the next coordinator um, is going to be a good fit for whoever they're going to bring in as quarterback. And that's another thing is that when you bring in a coordinator, now you can have that person involved in your draft and have major input on who we're going to draft. Or you can also get them after your draft if you're set on the people who you're going to draft, and then pick that person to kind of fit your player. So you got a couple of things that you can do there, but obviously going into this. off season, we have something different going into it. We have a new owner, Tom Brady, who is now officially part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So, that is the next question: is how big of an impact is Tom Brady going to make in this offseason? Who's he going to recommend? Is he going to go out there and recommend an offensive coordinator? Is he going to do recommendations, or he's going to let it be known, hey, we need to hire this guy, or we need to go ahead and go after these players, on the draft, and also through transactions as well. What are your thoughts? What kind of impact do you think Tom Brady's going to make in the offseason now that he's part owner of the Raiders and actually going to be handling the football operations side?
Hmm. I mean, that's a very interesting question. I mean, he's gonna provide like something between for the draft. I know he's a minor owner, but I think he should be like it because I know he has very like a few contents that someone had to feel a lot about it. But I would love to see like it get involved into the draft and of course the situation coming up there then because what I just saw doing for the social media, he just wanted to try like making the content with Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. I mean, the son of Deion Sanders. I mean, he just wanted to give the opportunity, but it's not gonna be like a really concern to be like a really in part of this. But I really thought this could be like a really huge, but it is very like a really unclear when it comes to anything. I mean, it's not gonna be like a really huge. I mean, if you see like a really approve it out of this one, I mean, if they want to get involved like getting like draft picks and of course bringing in some like old friends to get involved like a defensive coordinator because they need a lot of help. They need a lot of help, and I think that Tom Brady they just need to get involved like something to get interested about like to bring in some people. I mean, we just need not only with offensive coordinators but also coaches that makes everything about it because if we can bring like some stability and attitude that we need about it, I mean, someone it just wanted to translate. I mean, it will be like interesting how they handles like the football side of things. I mean, for those want to like at the hands of like the football decisions, I mean, that could be like a lot. I mean, it's not gonna be like a blow minded if suddenly it's gonna turn it around. But at the football minded at the top, it will definitely will benefit for a franchise. I mean, when Al Davis died, it was say like he owned like 77%, but have it a bit closely because they want to see like a factual breakdown of the stakeholders. But whatever this works if it goes down, I mean, if they're gonna bring a lot of energy, I mean, if you can beat them, join them. Or in this case, let it join us. Because if we want to support, if we want to let us win, I mean, just because we had to see like everything's gonna happen. Because if we want to get involved like at a new faces or get involved like at a draft picks, I mean, there's gonna be like at a lot of changes. But don't be really expected because after the whole year, there's around a lot of their chance. There's gonna be like a lot of chance right now. And it seems that if we can really had to prove, then let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Right. Do you think Tom would bring in like a Mike Rabel or like Bill Belichick to do like consulting or other Patriots? Because I mean, honestly, I could speak for a lot of the Raider fans. I mean, doing the whole Josh McDaniels experiment and how that failed utterly left a really bad taste in our mouth. And I know a lot of us don't want to relive that and us changing the identity of the Raiders. Obviously, the way we do things you can change, but the way our essence and how we play football, that's something we don't want to change. But what do you think? Do you think that he brings in like Bill Belichick? Because that's been the word on the street that he's out there trying to feel Bill and see if he's interested in possibly coming back in either a head coach role or some type of role where he's involved with the team.
Mm, I don't see that Bill Belichick is gonna to return as the head coach. I mean, that should be like a huge mistake. But I'm very glad that you spoke about for like Mike Rabel. I mean, it curious that it be like a to unwind the change defensive side to like a modern day instead of running ball over. I mean, they just wanted to like really bust it loose. I mean, I really like between for Mike Rabel, his directness, his energy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they say because he was very crushed at the line of scrimmage. Because during for that time, along with the Tennessee Titans, the online wasn't that very good enough, and the defense knew about the doubt of the first down, and they just run that through the middle. I mean, Rabel could have go to a lot of places, and they felt like they had the right support, but it's not gonna be like a really like nepotism, but it seems that it's gonna be like some thought that he wasn't that very great. I mean, there are many coaches that could have done as well. Some people that just wanted to keep him gone, but most don't. I mean, if they want to see like they're able to success to build out a real squad, and of course that was very really impressive. But I think that we're like clinging enough for like other seasons, and they couldn't really imagine. I mean, I know that Mike Vrabel liked things his way, that he hasn't been like at a racing coordinator, so they cancel like the long leash. But they are really prepared that the coordinators that just call him like a very unequilibrated, but he was very bald. He was underperforming at the playoffs. At the end of the day, he was like not the problem. He's a great coach, but I know that the subordinates and the mid coordinators. I mean, hopefully, if we want to see like an offensive mind coach and between for like the defense and a coach like this one, I mean, they're not very stupid. They're not very stupid because I know it's gonna be much better of as a storage.
Okay. So yeah, Mike. So yeah, no, that's good. I agree. I don't think they'll bring in. I hope they don't bring in um, all these Patriots, ex-Patriot players, and all these coaches. I hope that Tom will have some foresight and kind of go with new blood, um, and try to bring in fresh faces that are established and that are effectively going out there and changing the game into the Raider organization, because you see all these teams. Right now, for example, you have the Commanders, and they lucked out. They drafted Jaden Daniels. They got Cliff Kingsbury out there, and they're 7-2. These guys are rocking and rolling, and for sure they're looking like they're heading into the playoffs, top seed. Um, Jay Daniels, another candidate for the Rookie of the Year, along with Brock Bowers, and they're balling out. So, you got Sean McVay out in the Rams. Though they're not doing good this year, but you're having young coaches that are coming in, and young offensive coordinators with a different mindset that are innovating the offenses and creating new styles and everything, and we're still kind of stuck in the past. So an example, we just hired fucking North Turner as a special offensive assistant. So that goes to tell you kind of where our head's at. So I hope that Tom brings in that new
Mhm.
perspective, and he makes great recommendations as far as who our personnel is going to be on the coaches, because that is something that we definitely do need, and we haven't been really good at over the last few years. But um, another question, sticking with the Tom uh, segment here. Does Tom Brady give more power to Antonio Pierce if he stays? I don't know if you noticed it, Rafa, but he's. I could tell that
Hmm.
Antonio Pierce's hands are a little bit tied, at least one of them, and he's not able to do certain things that I know he wants to do, and it's very apparent to other people that he wants to do, and he has to kind of do more of yes, it's a collective bullshit type talk, but now we're seeing the effects of it. I mean, we he wanted to go out there and draft Jaden Daniels. That didn't happen, and I know somebody else had spoken on this as well. We don't know the details of what happened. Maybe we don't know what the offer was made to the Commanders. We don't know if maybe there wasn't any offer made to the Commanders. We don't know. Um, we ended up getting Gardner Minshew. I don't think that was his top pick for him bringing in a quarterback. And basically, the offensive coordinator he wanted Cliff Kingsbury. That didn't happen. And I'm pretty sure that Luke Getzey wasn't his first choice either, but we ended up with Luke Getzey. So a lot of I want to say a lot, but I would say quite a bit of decisions have had that have been made in the off season and in the season haven't been really him, or he's wanted to do things and he kind of has to let certain things play out. So, do you think Tom gives more power to Antonio Pierce to, go and get certain people that he wants, and kind of let Telesco, take a back seat and kind of focus more on the draft and, just making sure that the deals are being done? What are your thoughts about that?
Hmm. I mean, that's really tough. I mean, I don't think that they're gonna use like enough power to see how they're gonna to stuck with it. And I know that Antonio Pierce, it might be still like the head coach, but he's still got a lot to learn to do as a head coach. And I know there are some persons that just wanted to like him not only for smoke cigars or Screen Raiders or, well, drop it in Impala, but he needs to get to grow up and, of course, get involved with some point with the coaching. But I really understand is something that I wanted to keep like anything could happen in the power. But if see that had to the play because they have it very interesting because I'm very curious about like the connection that it just happened. I mean, if they want to stay like because they have it in opportunities, maybe it was one of those destinations that I would hear because he's making like a small ownership. Because I can honestly, because they just wanted to really connect it, because they just wanted to like to get an offer like the stacks and everything. I mean, they have like a lot of potential for growth on that decades. I mean, if you wanted to realize that how to get successful and get it like at really everything, I mean, that's something that I wanted to get involved. I mean, if they wanted to bring something brand new, I mean, they're go for it. They're go for it. I mean, they wanted to really get associated because I read the surrounded for everything. And because does he have the reason? Because they're not being like very awful. They might be there like anything to find out because it's not very loaded like in other honors. Because it would have the guests that would go for like the whole defense and the chorus, something like that. But judging at the everything, I mean, they just wanted to shift at Antonio Pierce. It doesn't seem like they have a lack of energy, they have a lack of the communication. But I think the between for the connection of Tom Brady and Antonio Pierce, I think that they have like a for like business decisions. But what I'm really worried about it is gonna be like the next move. And I know that Tom Brady is gonna be the minority order. So I really understand the worry about like the coaches because if they wanted to make like a move, if they need to the kid like to grow up and of course to get still learning a lot, I mean, that's very key.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Antonio does have to, continue learning and growing as a coach. Obviously, this season's a little bit of reflection of that, of him being at the helm for a full season, you know, and it's just not because the way that the offense has been playing, obviously. That's not all on him because he doesn't call the plays offensively. He doesn't even call the plays defensively. Um, it's somebody else, right? But making sure that the execution is being done right, but on the player level, making sure that we're challenging plays, we're that are being called incorrectly by the refs, and there's been criticism of that this season that he hasn't challenged the way he needed to challenge. Right, there's some questionable plays. Uh, for example, I think it was the one with the Steelers, right? I think Abdullah got to the one or the half-yard line, or he didn't cross a plane or something, and he did cross a plane. So, I mean, those are the things that you want to challenge as a coach, even if you don't think you're going to win. It's so close. Why wouldn't you? The worst case is going to happen is that you lose, and yeah, it'll cost you a timeout. But I mean, fuck it. You have to challenge those plays. So, yeah, I agree. I think that Antonio has to, you know, has to learn more and grow into his role more. But I think that Tom Brady should give him more power, more decision making, because you know he was given the position, and taking over at the interim level last year, he did a pretty good job. He went 5-4,
Mhm.
and this year is kind of shit where he has a worse record, 2-7. But I mean, yes, he's a rookie head coach, and it's kind of expected. So that's that's what I think. I think that Tom should give him a little bit more power and a little bit more decision making who he brings
Yeah.
in as coaches and as players as well. And Tom Telesco should just kind of do what he needs to do to make that happen, because he's not a player. Tom Telesco is not a player. Tom Telesco is a GM, and the GM just makes sure that they're there to make sure the transactions go through. That's what they do, and they go out there to make sure that they sell the players as well. They're not really there to like, hey, you know what? I want to bring in this guy because X, Y, Z. If you haven't played the game, though you might have some football IQ, he really doesn't have the know as an Antonio Pierce, as a Tom Brady. So I think he should take a little bit of a back seat and just kind of let AP do his thing. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that. But before I go into the next part, my next segment here, again, if you are watching this podcast, make sure you do hit that like button down below and subscribe to the podcast. I am on every week, and I post shorts multiple times a week. They're fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen them, please go and watch them. Laugh your fucking ass off. I like to make fun, especially in the dog shit kind of season we've been having. It's good just to kind of laugh at yourself, laugh at your team. We are fans, and we are able to do that. It's just a little shit talking, but yeah, go ahead and check it out. Again, like and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you go on Captain Rafucho on his channel, and you are subscribed to that. And he is on once a week as well. So make sure you guys check that out. But let's get into the next part here. Obviously, with that, the big elephant in the room is draft picks. So we need a few draft picks in this upcoming draft. But I did want to go ahead and kind of show this that I put out earlier this morning on Instagram. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, please make sure you go out there and follow me at JRaider underscore 505. JRaider underscore 505. But let me show this really quick. And I did put, I don't know if you'll probably be able to hear the audio or not, but this is a little excerpt from the Pat McAfee show earlier this week, talking about one of the top prospects, Shedeur Sanders, number two from the University of Colorado. Let's take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that is a little extra. I don't know if everybody got to hear the audio, but basically, the coach of Texas Tech went on early in the week and said that two parts. One, that Travis Hunter, the wide receiver for the University of Colorado Buffaloes, is the next generational player, and that Shedeur Sanders is basically the best quarterback in college football right now. And that if you're a GM in the NFL, you should go out and draft Shedeur Sanders. So Pat McAfee goes on and says, well, he's kind of dropping hints, and the media has been putting it out there that he's tweeting, "Thank you God for every after every Raider loss." Um, so I don't know if that's him wishing that we keep losing to go up on the draft. But I mean, Coach Prime, which is dad, Deion Sanders, has said that one of there's a couple of teams that he wants his son to go play at, and one of them is the Las Vegas Raiders. And we don't know if that's how it really works for the draft. I have no idea. And he was kind of making a reference to Eli Manning's son, Archie Manning. I think they had kind of a similar thing in their draft. But I mean, honestly, I don't know because it's a contract they are signing with the team. And they can decline it. I've heard that it's a possibility. And I had this actual talk with my girl earlier today in the car, And she says, well, it's a contract. I mean, they can elect to sign with the team or not because they are going to get paid. So he can decline if, let's say, we're not able to get to the number two, three, or one spot, and he can say, "Well, I'm not going to go play for you guys," and then he goes back into the draft and still becomes available until we get him. Um, but one thing I am going to say before I ask you this question is that how cool would it be if the Raiders would draft Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? And if you guys don't know who Travis Hunter is, if you have not seen that kid play, he is phenomenal. He is one of the best receivers in college football right now, and he also plays cornerback. So he's playing cornerback and wide receiver at the same time. It's crazy. Um, so to have them both um, come on and get drafted together would be a very wild thing. So I'm I'm kind of I'm kind of getting a little giddy to see the possibility of that happening. Now, would it happen? I don't know. I mean, we want Shador, and a lot of the signs point that that will happen in the off season because of the relationship he has with the Raiders through Mark Davis, and then also through Tom Brady, as you heard Pat McAfee say. If you have, if maybe you didn't, but Tom Brady has been a mentor to Shador since high school. So he's been coaching that kid since high school, and now Tom is part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and so him coming over to Vegas is a very strong possibility. So you know, and then obviously we need a couple other positions as well. Um, we need a wide receiver, and we need a few more linemen to come in and help out our struggling offensive line. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to play that excerpt, and I think Rafa had a cut out here for a bit. But yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to kind of show is that you know he he is he is you know basically the next QB1 for us. And then now you have another argument too. You have Cam Ward from the University of Miami, um, uh, as another prospect as well. So, um, you know, you have Shedeur Sanders, and now you have Cam Ward. Yes, you have Clinton Ewers as well as another possibility, but honestly, it's between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And shout out to the Go 209. I know he's a big Cam Ward fan, and I like him too. I like him too. I honestly, it's a toss up. But my hard feelings, if I have to put money on it, it would be Shedeur Sanders, just because of all the relationships he's had with um, the Raiders currently. So, um, yeah, that's kind of as far as what lies in the future. Um, but that would be really awesome to have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and get drafted both by the Raiders and have them play together because this would be the optimal thing that you would want. You would want to have a quarterback already familiar with a wide receiver that they've been playing for years, you know, 3 4 years already, and so they know how to run routes. They know how to, um, you know, set up plays and everything, and they know each other's timing and know what they're gonna do, and that would just be, mind blowing, and you're definitely a contender at that point. So I mean, with the likelihood of that happening, it's probably small because I'm pretty sure Travis Hunter, having him going into the draft, he would definitely go in the first round, if not top five. And so, for us to have two number one draft, two first rounders that are within the top 10, we're gonna have to do a lot. We're gonna have to sell a lot of things. We have to give away a lot of things to make that happen. Um, could it happen? Possibly. I don't see it happening, but it would be a very cool thing for it to happen. I was just thinking about it earlier today. I was like, man, how cool would it be to have those two guys playing for the Raiders next season? In silver and black. So yeah, one thing that was said by Max Crosby in his podcast the other day was he wanted to put something out in existence to have Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward go on to the podcast in the off season after the NFL off season, after college football is over, and give their reasons on why they should go number one, or within the top five. And then obviously us being uh, or most likely going to end up within the definitely top 10, if not top five. Basically, kind of you know making their case on why we should draft them as a quarterback. So I love that idea. I would love to hear their opinions on why we should bring him on over to the Raiders. Um, I feel Shador is more invested in us than Cam is. But I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure he's not going to turn down a big contract. So, um, yeah, that would be really cool to see, to have Max Crosby have Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward on the show and give their reasons on why they should be drafted in the top three, and drafted by the Raiders as well in this next coming draft. So, um, yeah. Um, Another thing also too, we have one of the questions that I did have as well was, should the Raiders part ways from Patrick Graham? So I talked about this on my last show, if the Raiders should part ways from Patrick Graham. Um, and so the defense hasn't played a whole lot great as of late. They have done a lot, but obviously giving up 40 points the last game kind of makes it a little rough. But and then I got Rafa back. Let me go here. All right, cool, man. Glad to have you
Yeah, I
back.
know the
We're having
internet
a little bit of
connection.
issues.
It's not that really. Yeah,
No, you're good. You're
yeah,
good, man. So,
I know, but
so I don't know if you caught my last segment here, but I was talking about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and
okay.
you know, yeah, I mean, you saw that clip with Pat McAfee. He's dropping hints, man, that he wants to come over to the Raiders. His dad is saying that there's a few teams that they're going to come out to play, which one of them would be the Raiders. And so, him, Shedeur Sanders tweeting after every Raider loss, thank you, God. It's just kind of dropping major hints that he wants to come over and be a Raider. And then also you got Cam Ward from the University of Miami, and I don't know if you got. I don't know if you've seen these guys play, but they are phenomenal. Cam Ward didn't do too good today. They got upset by Georgia Tech, but they did go on a run in the fourth quarter. Fortunately, they came up short. And then, yeah, Cam didn't look his best today. Shedeur Sanders played Texas Tech today in Lubbock, and it was actually a pretty good game, man.
Mm,
The
yeah,
Texas Tech started off really fast, and uh, Colorado had to play catch up, but Shedeur did his thing. He stayed calm and um, he looked really good out there, and he was able to put drives together, and they ended up winning by like I think like 14, 15 points. I didn't catch it again because I was getting ready for the podcast, but um, yeah, they were up by at least 11 points in the fourth quarter, and then I think they ended up scoring again. So, um, yeah, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, I also talked about like how cool would it be to have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter both be drafted by the Raiders and play for the Raiders next season?
Oh, actually, this is gonna be like the greatest duo. I mean, if it's not gonna be like the hypest one, but it seems that between for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I mean, can we appreciate about like Travis Hunter because he has 3 touchdowns and he played 130 snaps. I mean, he only makes 2 plays, and he just made like an insane catch wide, like the defensive back high him, the chuck hole. I mean, he really wants to stay healthy because playing with that many snaps is some high school like real deal. I mean, it's very crazy. I mean, they just wanted to keep like to make the clock management messed up. I mean, how long did it take it to the back of the speed? I mean, this is gonna be like the second year that they just wanted to know that the offensive line takes like the longest to rebuild. I don't know why the
Oh
people
yeah.
just wanted to expect it, but honestly, they're doing like a very fine at the rebuild. I mean, that hasn't been struggling at all because that was like a really flame and a blaze to go for this one. I mean, they have something very similar with those skill players. Are very incredible. But the line it's very suspect with the hell. Because if they do give like Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter to get like the ball, I mean, there's gonna be like a really exactly what's gonna for this one. And some persons that just wanted to draft Cam Ward because after that I just saw train for that game of Miami versus Georgia Tech. I mean, they're not gonna really letting off the like a little slip. But of course, they didn't want to see like the height of their own line and get like a run for it. I mean, if they want to like to reserve like the hit pieces for after the losses, I mean, they gotta be like anything could happen, but he'll be like anything. Because if they got like a really enough time to more that I just see about it, I mean, the culture being in something really else is gonna be like really something happening. But he's still like gonna be like really drafting it off for like the real deal. I mean, after he just wanted to take care of how did he use it to help him to always just go to like if they're gonna use this one. I mean, they want to do like sort of the people. I mean, the same happened when it comes to like last year for the college football. I mean, if they want to like to see like if they want to do like at the top five or everything. But if we want to talk it about between for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I mean, there could be like a really explosive dynamite, an explosive duo. I mean, if they could have get it like anything like very confused, but also they just wanted to see like a really huddle to play out of the midfield or such a bad thing. But they have no issues with the players were doing like at the turf. I mean, they don't want it to create something about like the drama, but if they wanted to go for it, I mean, he loves to like to create like the skill, and of course like the team with the got like the good proportions about like the praying for this duo.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is having, uh, players that are familiar with each other. I think it'll be so beneficial to have those two guys uh, get drafted to the same team and go and learn the system together. And if all else fails, they can always like rely on each other to like make shit happen. So I think I mean obviously it's very unlikely for that to happen because there's a lot of moving parts for you to go and get and be and have two first round picks. Um, you have to you have to sell a lot of things, like I said, to make that happen. But what do you think? Who do you think the Raiders are going to draft for quarterback? Because that is the biggest question uh, in the Raider Nation currently is who the fuck do we draft? Do we go for Shedeur Sanders? Do we go for Cam Ward? I mean, this is like the biggest debate since fucking Trump versus Biden. Like, who the fuck do you go for? I'm not gonna say Kamala because Kamala had no chance, but who do you draft? It's like it's 50-50. The Raider Nation is split 50-50, I think, and then half of the people are for Cam Ward, half of the people are for Shedeur. I'm in the middle. I honestly either or is good, but realistically, I feel because all the signs point that we
Mhm.
will get Shedeur Sanders in the NFL draft. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a really like very good question. But I just wanted to draft like at the first pick. I would say the Shedeur Sanders, because you know why? Shedeur to Bowers, it will be like a nightmare for the opposing defense. I mean, if we need to get like to move out, I mean, if everybody thought that Cam Ward, it's well, like a great choice, but it seems that it's overrated because if you see like the Shedeur Sanders, like the highlights or everything, because they have some of the best weapons in college with Hunter, Horn, Western, Shaparo, Mario. I mean, I know this game like it struggling with the online, and War has done a lot of things which could be like a priority. But I don't believe that they're gonna draft with Cam Ward. I don't know because this arm technique it doesn't surprise it at all because it seems that so many quarterback players like Cam Ward. I mean, it just seemed like you have a lack of being mobile because it just wanted to take like the best available. Because if they wanted to take like it at all, because they tried to go lane for Jenny Daniels because it takes two to tango.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't matter how many picks you got to offer because they don't want it to make it a deal. Because not trading for a Warrior Santos that will like a mistake because I know it's gonna be like more accurate and it's not gonna be like a real defense when it comes to anything. So I'm gonna to draft Sergio Sanders because they just wanted to well agree with those persons. They can really reveal about that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think he's a better fit to the Raiders and the
Hmm.
Raiders style. And today I actually got to see a full game of Colorado, and fuck, they had a lot of flags where um, it was a lot of taunting and a lot of like unsportsmanlike type stuff. And I thought of the Raiders the whole fucking time. I'm like, that is us. That is us. That's how we do. We are now more disciplined, and we don't do a lot of that shit all the time. But that is basically us, and they have the same moxie that we do. And Shador is very, he's a very confident individual, and he carries that extremely well, and it shows on the football field. So it's just that attitude he has, that you know um, that Raider way about him. So I think he will be a good fit into the Raider organization. And yes, I also think Shedeur Sanders is going to be drafted by the Raiders. Um, I put money on it. Like I said, if we don't draft them, that's going to be the biggest fail of the Raiders, and I'm pretty sure somebody's getting clipped after that. But um, you
Yeah.
have to go. Yeah, if it's not Shador, it's Cam. If it's not Cam, it's Shador. It has to be one of those. And I think the way it'll play out, it's going to be whoever's going to be number one in as far as teams in the draft order. Um, they may or may not go for a quarterback. It just depends on their needs. But probably Cam will go first, and then it's going to be Shador. And depends where we're at. If we're number five or number four or number three, I don't know if we're going to be able to go up to two or one. We're going to have to trade our way up there to solidify a number one draft pick or number two. Um, but it's going to be Shador. That's how it's going to play. Or let's say Shedeur gets drafted first, and if he doesn't decline that offer, and he goes with the team that drafted him, and Cam is available, we're getting Cam. That's just how it's going to play out. So I'm very excited to see this next coming draft. I hope we get up there. I hope we're very aggressive to make that happen. It's a must draft situation where we have to be aggressive to get up there. And I hope Tom Telesco realizes that and he does everything in his power to make that happen and doesn't drop the ball in this next coming draft. So, uh, my next question was, um, and I kind of put this out there because I think you touched upon it earlier, Rafa, is that do you think the Raiders should part ways from Patrick Graham this offseason? What do you think?
No, I don't think that it's gonna be like a. I don't think that Patrick Graham is gonna be retired or is gonna be like the board because I know that he still got a lot of flaws in between for like his coordination and everything. I know this last season it then became like the worst situation. But it feels like they had everyone is not really hard to see how they're gonna really stay. If they're gonna to like at the placing of the machine, but it feels like everyone is not really hard to see how it was gonna be the hype. I mean, it's rare to convince that about to stay. But really adapts like the shim to go over there because I know that it's gonna be like a rehire for the head coach and move on for the hiring cycle because if they're gonna need like an extra boots for everything, but it seems that there's
Mm-hmm.
not too worried taking about it. I mean, if they wanted to convince how they're gonna really stay, if they're gonna to put on there for the red zone scheme, I mean, not gonna really happen at all. Because if they wanted to like really elevate as they wanted to coaching and everything, I mean, there's no wonder as it became interesting to do all of this seem very important. But I know that hopefully, it seems that all over for the all over for those Nets, like for a few seasons. I mean, they don't want it to get like a blazing for leads to numbers, which is probably it's like a bit of a big issue. But behind it are the right receivers in the end zone. I mean, that's kind of like a little one. I mean, if they're gonna do like the blazing often and showing like the multiple fronts and make an adjustment for a series, I mean, not to very confused with the offense because they're not really sure of any the pattern for game to game, so they cannot really do that as going so well. So I don't think it's gonna be like a because I know there's gonna be like a look like not very good because even though that I have a lot of holding, seems that the only to stop them because they had something to like at the beginning like at the team as we do like changes right here for like everything for the quarterback and the wide receiver. I mean, if they wanted to get it with the stay, but if he wanted to get it sometimes to win the games right there, there's gonna be like a great star or four star, so probably make it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think. Yes, I don't think we should part from Patrick Graham. I think a lot of the shit that's been going on as of late is situational. Um, it's because you have guys that are injured. You have Marcus Epps, torn ACL out for the season. Malcolm Coons out for the season since the beginning of the year. So we didn't even get to see that guy play. Christian Wilkins out for the season. We just got this guy. We went out and got him, and he was very impactful. And then, um, you know, fifth game he goes out. So, guys have stepped up, but also too, like you said, the offense uh, is just not doing their part and sustaining drives and keeping the defense off the field and going constantly three and out, and you're having your defense go out there for like 45, 50 minutes a game, and it's it's just hard to stay consistent and be able to hold teams to, under 25 points or 20 points per game, because you're out there so much and you're just gassed. So, um, yeah, I think that it's a couple of things that has happened that has made the defense not look as great. But I hope that next year will be better. Obviously, there'll be some guys that we part ways with, and there will be some guys that we resign, and hopefully, a good amount of guys stay with us. And Jack Jones had a great game last week with the Bengals. Got his pick six in a long time. And I'm glad to see that guy finally start putting in a lot more work. Um, being more consistent, and I would love to see him with the Raiders next year. But yeah, definitely gotta keep playing hard. But yeah, I don't think Patrick Graham should go this offseason. I don't think AP should go. I think AP should stay. I have not been on that bandwagon of him being fired. And a lot of stuff is not in his control. There's things that are in his control, and he has, um, you know, been accountable for that, and he's taking accountability for that. And but everybody has to remember this is his first year as a full season as a rookie coach. There's going to be mistakes that are going to be made. There's not everything that he does is going to be correct. Um, but I hope that he's able to get a few more wins to justify his position, because uh, for him to stay on at a 2-15 record is going to be very hard sell, in my opinion, or 3-14, or maybe even four and what is it, 4-13, right? It's going to be very hard sell. So if he
Mm.
has maybe like a 5-12, 6-11, 7-10 record at the end of the season, then you could say, well, you know what, it was his offensive coordinator. Offense couldn't get it going. A lot of injuries, and then we didn't get him the quarterback that he needed. So, despite that, he was still able to pull off a pretty decent record. And let's get him the things that he needs and see what he does this next season. But if he does stay the next season, honestly, I see him being on a very short leash, and he'll probably get the axe if he doesn't pull out a 3-0 start, or 5-1 start, something along those lines. Um, he might get the axe. If he's 3-3 going into the season and just the same old shit, yeah, I don't see him sticking around. So
Yeah,
those are my thoughts on that. But
yeah.
yeah, so but
Hmm.
on the same note, though, since I just said if he gets everything he wants, so if Antonio Pierce, and this is my last segment, we'll go ahead and close out the show. But if Antonio Pierce gets all the pieces, everything he wants, what do you think our record would be? And how far do you think we go in the playoffs? What are your thoughts?
I mean, between for like the playoffs, it's not gonna be like it a really easy at all. But if you saw like it because there's like a lack of communication and like it it's gonna be like a really mistake. But if they want to like they don't want it to hold it back because they just wanted to make some business decisions with the coaching staff. And I know it's gonna be like a just as real as bad enough for this one. I mean, the whole future, it all depends. Because I know that some persons that wanted to see like how to call plays, and he doesn't know about like a clock management. I mean, make it at the halftime adjustments, and the biggest and the worst. I mean, because it's not the answer. I mean, we always had away for like at 18 scores because they just wanted to getting realistic right now. Because if they want to be like the most realistic right now, it really doesn't matter who's where the coach if you have like a had like some bad quarterback. But respect for like to the playoffs. I mean, if we will look like this one, I mean, it's not gonna be like so much easier than the start of the last year because I know the last year it became so like everything's gonna be like really important to get like the expectations, at all. But in that case, I mean, do they think that like the tough guy that's gonna be getting a change job and to get it started of the season? I mean, if they wanted to choose like to stop the gap, I mean, they gotta to decide how they can choose like something else to be like at a 2 years from now. I mean, it has to do about it. But if we had like a great miracle to get like the can ball like the playoff runs between for the next games, because I know it's gonna be really tough because we're gonna face against Miami Dolphins, Denver Broncos, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, getting like the blueprint about like the defense, and of course, getting like getting rid of the screenplays, and of course the screenplays because it really excites it a little. Because if we want to be like really aggressive and more creative, that give me like an opportunity. But it's not gonna be like a really easy because right now we had to deal with injury reports and everything. But it seems that we had to be like a great solution to get out of the miracle.
Hmm. Yeah. So what do you think our record's gonna be next season? Getting the offensive line together, getting another wide receiver, getting Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. What do you think our record would be?
I mean, for the next season, I would love to expect it to between for like well 12 wins and 5 losses for the next
Okay,
season. For the
I'm
next
right there
season,
with
if
you.
we take Shedeur Sanders, yep.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If we get everything, if everything gets fixed, offensive line, get a couple linemen on the draft, we get another wide receiver, we get Shador or Cam, Ice, and then we are considered a contender. And um, I see us going 13 and 4, 12 and 5, 11 and 6. Worst case scenario, 10 and 7. I say if you're 10 and 7 next year, that's a failure. And you have your star quarterback. You're doing something wrong. But if
Hmm.
you're higher than that, and everything, all the stars align and everything, and we're a contender, we have a really good record, we win the AFC West, or we go wild card, top seed in the wild card, um, and I think we go second. I think we go second round in the playoffs. I think we go to the divisional game, and I don't think we win. I don't think we go AFC Championship on the first year. You could, but realistically, I don't think that'll
Yeah.
happen. I don't think that happens the following year. Um, then you really become, you know, a big contender and play in the AFC Championship game and make that Super Bowl run. Right now, I think the next year we're just trying to get consistency and get wins together and win consistently and be able to be competitive if we make it into the playoffs to be able to get to the divisional game if we win, if we go in as a wild card. So I think that's how it'll play out, and I think by the third year, that's when we'll go to the Super Bowl. If I say if we get everything that we need to get, we fix all of our offensive problems, get our offensive line together, we get the run game going, we get a great offensive coordinator, we get another wide receiver, we get Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. We get a little bit more depth on the defensive side, and I believe in 3 years, maybe four, uh, we're we're playing in the Super Bowl. But that's a lot of things that you have to fix. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a tall order, you
Yeah.
know. And but
Yeah.
we have Tom Brady now, and I hope he helps out making that a possibility in the pretty near future here. So, but what do you have any final thoughts on anything, uh, Rafa, before we
Yeah, I just
call
wanted to
it?
tell you. Yeah, and I just wanted to tell you, thanks for having me on your show. Then I know there's been like a like an internet, all these stuffs. I mean, that that makes everything an else because I just realized that even though that I'm being a content creator is not that very easy, but I'm representing for the Raider Nation, and right now it seems that no matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Native American, or Asian, we are bleeding the same team, the same and black, and I know it's the Black Sunday, so yes, I'm wearing this T-shirt, Black Sunday, all day, all night
Yeah.
long, and whatever takes it about my catchphrases, I just wanted to tell to everybody else. Fuck the Chiefs. Raider Nation for life, motherfuckers. There you go.
There you go. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, you're out there representing in the East Coast Raider Nation, and it's good to have that. You're out there in North Carolina, right?
Yep,
Yeah, so you're out there representing Raider
exactly.
Nation, North Carolina, holding it down. You know, and we have representatives all over the place. So then that's why it is a Raider Nation. And I'm out here in the Southwest representing the good old 505 Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also Los Angeles, my home, my true home. Uh, but yes, Raider Nation. I mean, I've been a fan for 30 plus years. I am new to being a content creator and doing podcasts, but I am in love with this. I love doing this, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So it's a pleasure for me to join everybody every week and share my thoughts and having guests like you come on the show and share your thoughts as well, and how the team should be playing and how they should be doing things and how things should go, because also our opinions do matter, not fully, but they do matter, um, because we are also the lifeblood of the team, and we go out there and try to support the team. We go out to the games, we buy the merch,
Exactly.
all that good stuff. So yeah, for sure, man, 100%. But yes, that is a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining me on the show. Again, catch Rafa Captain at Captain Rafucho on YouTube and X. Uh, whether you're on, how often are you on?
Yep, exactly. Also, you subscribe on my channel, Capitan Rafucho, almost there for 1.5K subscribers, and of course, I've been involved with like to talking with the Raiders and everything. So I know the next week I'm gonna have like some special edition of Straight Out of Nation, which is getting ball like the preview between Las Vegas Raiders versus Miami Dolphins.
Yep, gotta do the Dolphins versus Raiders for sure. And then obviously make sure you guys like and subscribe to this podcast. Continue supporting it, helping grow. We are currently at like 28 subscribers. Let's push it. Let's keep it going. Let's push it to 50. So definitely subscribe. And then plus two, check out my reels, my shorts. I post them on at least like 2, 3 times a week. They're funny as fuck. I get a kick out of making them, and I hope I'm making everybody laugh out there, especially at these stressful times that we're having as Raider fans. It's good to laugh at yourself. So definitely check those out. And then obviously, I put little shorts these um, of these episodes as well. So definitely got to catch that. But again, thank you everyone for joining us on this podcast, this edition of JBR Live. This is episode two, Just Raiders Baby podcast. I'll be doing that next week as well on the regular flagship show. So definitely catch that as well. And everybody, thank you for joining me on this bye week. And we will see you next week for Raiders versus the Dolphins. All right, y'all. Take care. Peace.
All right, salute. Let's go.